Many people would argue that Master Vile was actually the true villain of the entire Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, and to be honest, I would probably agree. Being the father of Rita Repulsa and Rito Revolto gave him an instant aura of power, and when he was on screen, he just sort of commanded the audience's respect. We had to take him seriously. Even the mighty Lord Zed would not stand up to him. So who was he? What do we know about him? Let's get into it. Before we get too far into this video, guys, I want to point out that only 22% of the viewers on this channel have actually subscribed. Subscribing makes a huge difference for the channel, and the bigger we get, the more content we can make. So if you guys could take 2 seconds to hit that big red button, I would really appreciate it. Thanks everyone. So a lot of the backstory we have for Vile comes from the Boom Studios comics, so we will use the info from those as well as the various seasons of Power Rangers that he either featured in or was mentioned in to try and uncover his full story. Now, believe it or not, Master Vile had at one point in his life been human. His name was Eldin. He was some sort of researcher that would study any artifacts that had been left behind by the Morphin Masters. He worked closely with his future wife, Lady Fienna. One of the magical artifacts that they eventually came across gave them the ability to look far into their own futures. Fienna saw her yet-to-exist daughter as the Mystic Mother, something that made her very happy and proud. However, Eldin saw a twisted vision of his daughter as a dark, evil witch. He could also hear a voice calling out to him. The voice was none other than Dark Spectre. He slowly corrupted the mind of the researcher, and Eldin became more and more obsessed with bringing this new master of his, the evil Dark Spectre, to his universe. He eventually came to the conclusion that the only way to do this was to take part in a dark ritual, where he would need to sacrifice his own child. Eventually, Dark Spectre turned Eldin into Master Vile as we know him now. Then, at some point, Lady Fienna eventually became pregnant, and during her pregnancy, she discovered just how evil her husband had become, and decided to run as far away as she could from him. She eventually gave birth to the baby, who grew up to be Rita Repulsa, and raised her alone for several years while Vile searched everywhere for them. Despite their best efforts, he eventually discovered them and sent his Tenga warriors after them. Though the Phantom Ranger did intervene, Master Vile eventually handled the matter personally, killing his wife and taking his child. If you want to find out more about this storyline, we have covered it in previous videos, including the full story of Rita Repulsa, so go and check those out on the channel. Vile, however, eventually sensed that Rita was tainted by a massive infusion of grid energy, and thus could not be used in any ritual of any kind to summon Dark Spectre, as grid energy is actually poisonous to Dark Spectre. Master Vile decided he could still use the child and then raised Rita to be as evil as himself, before she left him at some point to join the evil space aliens. So, how does Master Vile end up becoming involved in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Well, this all begins when his daughter Rita marries Lord Zed, a decision that greatly angers Vile, as he considers Zed to be extremely incompetent, failing to defeat a bunch of teenagers over and over again. So in response to this, he sends his son Rito to help defeat the Rangers. And while Rito at first does some serious damage to the Rangers, the plan ultimately fails. Vile eventually ends up arriving on the moon himself. He is mainly there to search for the Zeo Crystal, a plan in which he very nearly succeeds in, capturing both the crystal and the Rangers' Zords, and even throwing an end-of-the-world party at the youth centre before entering a battle against the Rangers themselves. During this fight, Vile grows giant in size, and survives a finishing attack from both the Shogun Mega Falcon Zord and the Ninja Mega Falcon Zord as well. On his retreat back to the moon, he considers this failure nothing more than a minor setback and decides to stay and have more fights with the Rangers. In one of his greatest plans, he summons the Orb of Doom to Earth, which he uses to turn the Rangers into children. Lord Zed, though, is far from impressed with this plan, pointing out that they had already tried that. Vile's plans to destroy the Earth eventually spill over into the Alien Rangers season. However, the Aquitian Rangers that had been brought in to step in for the currently incapable of Morphin Child Rangers, the Aquitian Rangers eventually overthrow Vile's invasion, and he throws a tantrum and heads back to his galaxy in disgrace. We then get a very brief appearance from Vile in Power Rangers Zeo. When the Machine Empire arrives on the moon, Rita calls her father and begs him to let them stay with him. Vile agrees despite the fact that Rita would be bringing that husband of hers, whilst also mentioning that the Machine Empire is far worse than Zed because they destroy everything in sight. Master Vile states that he will leave a skeleton key under the mat and tells them not to wake him when they arrive. The last time we actually see Master Vile then is at the Conference of Evil, hosted by none other than Dark Spectre. Though he's not seen during the United Alliance of Evil's invasion of the universe, leaving his current status and whereabouts unknown, although he is presumably destroyed by Zordon's energy wave, given he has no redeemable qualities. However, as we know, both Rita and Zed are transformed into their human forms rather than destroyed. This is because they were once good. So an argument could be made that as Vile did not start off as evil and did not turn to darkness through his own will, he could too perhaps have been reverted to his human form. Maybe he lived on happily ever after, who knows. I'd love to know your theories in the comments down below, guys. Do you think he was turned into a human? Was he destroyed? Or is he still out there somewhere causing trouble? I think it's also important to point out here that Master Vile's original counterpart in the Japanese source material actually has a reason for his survival when fighting the Shogun Mega Falcon Zord. In this fight, the Zord uses its finishing move and Vile survives. In the Sentai version, they explain that the reason for this is that he is the embodiment of hate itself, and hate is impossible to destroy entirely. The only way to stop a being as evil as Vile would be to seal him away. So if Power Rangers decided to use this as canon for their character of Vile, then maybe he survived the energy wave. Again, let's discuss that in the comments down below. Finally then, before we go, let's talk about what exactly it is that makes Master Vile so powerful and so respected. First of all, he clearly has the ability to corrupt. He's even able to corrupt the Zeo Crystal to control the Falcon Zord and the Megazords. He can teleport at will, summoning red and blue snakes from underneath him to teleport to any location that he wishes. He can also self-grow. Now usually in Power Rangers, villains need the aid of either Rita or Zed in order to grow to full size. However, Master Vile does this without the aid of Rita and Zed, as seen when he grew himself after the escape of Ninja. Finally then, he's extremely strong, being able to overwhelm both the Shogun and Ninja Megazords with just the help of one other villain. He's also extremely durable, being able to take and withstand the finishing strikes of the Shogun Mega Falcon Zord and the Ninja Mega Falcon Zord without even a scratch on him. A pretty formidable enemy, to say the least. Okay, that's it from me today, my friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day. May the power protect you, and I will see you next time on the 6th Ranger.